Do you know which zipper is right for what? Hey everybody, good morning. I'm Reva with Quality Sewing and Vacuum, and today we're going to be talking about zippers. Yay! Okay, some people love zippers, some people hate zippers. Some of us just never knew there was anything wrong with zippers, so we never cared. But anyway, that's a whole different story. Maybe you have a story like that too, where your mom always said, oh, it's so hard, and then you just do it, and it's like not that big of a deal. Anyhow, we're going to talk about different types of zippers and why they are what they are and things like that. So I have a nice array of zippers out here, and we have basically two types of zippers that we're going to talk about. And so let's get in here kind of close, and I'm gonna talk about them. This one, if you can see, has teeth, actual teeth. And you'll probably recognize that from like a metal zipper, the zipper on your pants, probably your coat, all have teeth for the zipper. Then there is a nylon coil zipper, and that looks like this, if you can see that. And in fact, I'll pull it open a little bit so you can see it does have the little teeth, but they're not individual teeth. It's made with one coil of the material to put the teeth together, okay, to make a row of teeth. With nylon coil, you can sew over them a lot easier. A lot of times they're polyester, they're not always nylon, but you can sew over them, no big deal. If you have something big and chunky like this one, oh, don't sew over that, right? Because that would be bad for your needle. And definitely if it's metal, no bueno, don't be doing that, okay? Because that's just gonna, wow, that's going to break your needles. You can pass over them, but you have to hand turn your the needle part, yeah, your hand wheel. Hand turn that and make sure you don't hit anything hard. These guys, the nylon, you can just go right over the top of them. Okay, so now there's other things to think about when you're working with zippers. So like this is a nylon coil, and this is a nylon coil. There's a difference between them, and that's basically the size. This one is a number 3 zipper. It is used mostly for lightweight fabrics like a dress zipper, or maybe a little pouch bag that you make. No big deal. It's just a little cute zipper. This one is a number 5. And it is meant for upholstery, home deck. It is also made, a lot of people use a number 5 for tote bags and bag making. Okay, now how do you know if you have a mess of zippers like I do, where they're not in the package, they have no label? How do you know which is which? Well, just on first glance, I can tell that this one's bigger, so I happen to know that that's a 5. And you also notice on the 5, the tape is bigger. Do you see that? See how the tape on a 3 is narrower than the tape on a 5. Okay, but let's talk about how you know, or what does the 3 and the 5 mean? Well, the size of the zipper is actually how many millimeters it is. Let's go back to the tight shut. Is the millimeters from left to right on the teeth. So if you get your handy dandy little tape measure, isn't he cute? You have inches on one side and you have metric on the other. So if we take this and we line up the metric, I'll come down here so his little ear's not in the way, but then I can see that from my 10 to the 5, that's 5 millimeters. Whereas if I go over here from the 10 to the edge, it's 3. So a number 3 zipper is 3 millimeters, and a number 5 is 5 millimeters. So the bigger the number, the bigger the zipper. This one I measured, and it is even bigger than a 5. It's a 7. Okay, but what makes this guy different is that he is what is called a separating zipper. So if you're doing a jacket, or even you know, any project where you want to be able to access them as two separate halves, then you want a separating zipper. And then you just put it, you've all done that on a jacket, right? You've put the tab in there and pulled it up, but that's called a separating zipper. So if you're working with a project that has instructions for zippers, pay attention to that type, you know, what type of zipper it's asking for, because if it asks for concealed zipper, well, then it's probably meaning this. This is an invisible zipper or a concealed zipper because you don't see the teeth on top. On the back, you see the teeth, but on the front of the zipper, you don't see the teeth. Okay, so we'll be talking about that as well. Okay, other zippers that you might find very handy to have is called zipper by the yard. So this guy was like 5 yards, and I've used a lot of it, so I don't have 5 yards left anymore. And they come with multiple zipper heads. So why don't I show you really quick, and we'll see if I can hold my tongue right and show you how to put it on. But what you want to do is look at the end and see how mine's all shaggy, because I mean seriously, I just got it out of my drawer. These are all zippers from my house. So and why I took all the tags off, who knows. Anyhow, we want to cut straight across, so you're going to get some nice strong scissors, and we're just going to cut straight across. Usually at home I will then take a lighter and just melt the ends of the tape so it doesn't come unraveled. Now here is my head on a zipper tape that comes with several heads. It doesn't matter which side you put the head on. You can put it on from this way or from the other end. However, you do want to make sure that the chubby part of the head is going into the zipper. So you have the chubby part has a wide open, and see how it's chubbier up here? Then the skinny part has very little hole, so that is, whoops, went the wrong way. There we go. So that is not the end that you want to put on. You want to put on that end. And basically, whichever way the zipper wants the pull to fall, you put it on with this side going toward the zipper. So when you're putting it on, you just open it up a little bit, and I like to look and see, hey, which tooth was higher up, and this one was a little bit higher up. And they do sell things like the zipper jig and things like that, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this one into that side. Then I'm going to take this one, and I'm not going to just put it in like this parallel. I'm going to put it in a little bit at an angle. Let me see if I can get it so you can see. Maybe, who knows, at an angle, and then slip it in. And I might be able to feel it click, and where it clicks into position, and then just push it on, and now you have your zipper pull on your tape. Okay, it's not hard to do. If it's really super duper hard, stop, unzip it, take it off, and then just relax and try it again another time. What I choose to not do is separate the whole tape. If you have the whole tape separated, that's just kind of a pain, but you can then put it on and zip the whole tape up, then take the pull off and start it again, because it's easier to work with if you have two closed ends when you're working with a project. Have you ever done a project like in the hoop embroidery, and they want the zipper, put the zipper head in the middle, and we forget and then we cut it off? Well, this way you could put it in the middle and you can still open it, so it's kind of nice. Okay, so that is a by the yard. And that's a number 5 zipper. Okay, so what we're going to do is, I want to talk about these cutie pies here. These little guys here are decorative zippers, which I'm sure that's a shocker to you because they're not decorative at all. But no, they are. So what you do with this is you're going to sew it on top of the fabric so the zipper tape shows. And there's a lot of things in fashion right now that put the zipper tape on the outside of the project, which is kind of fun. But let me talk about that for a minute. If we were doing either one of these, we'll just use this guy as an example. What I probably would choose not to do is put it with the raw edges going toward the teeth. Okay, that seems so far away. I think we need to go back to the second, there we go. We wouldn't want to just butt the raw edge up here, because when you sew it, yeah, it's going to look great from out here, but then that's going to start to fray. So what you would do is you would want to sew it. I was trying to think there for a second. Here's my zipper, and I would want to put my fabric like this, wrong sides here to the wrong side of the zipper, and then I would stitch it, and then you fold it back. Does that make sense? So it has a clean finish on the inside. Okay, so that is that one, but we're going to talk about a standard zipper. So if I'm doing a regular old zipper, first of all, you got to know what size zipper you need. If your pattern calls for a 7 or a 9-inch zipper, that is not from here to here. It's actual working space, and it's okay to use a zipper that's longer. You're just gonna throw some of it away. Okay, so if my a lot of times if my pattern calls for a 9-inch zipper, I might use a 12 anyway, just so that way it is easier to work with. Okay, so on the zipper itself, you've probably noticed that you have the teeth, but then you have a little metal, sorry, I moved it out of the way there. You have a metal stopper at the top, and you have a metal stopper at the bottom, and those are used to keep the zipper head from falling off. Not all zippers can be put back on in an easy way, okay? And this one has extra tape at the bottom and at the top, and those again are not part of the measurements for your zipper. When you first get your zipper either out of the package or out of the drawer like I did with mine, or maybe it was part of a kit, like say a Kimberbell embellishment kit or something like that, and it's been folded up, well then you want to take your iron and you want to press them, and it's okay to use steam, right? So you're just going to press your little guy until he's nice and flat. It will make a difference in your final project, believe me. Okay, so let's talk about sewing these together. So I'm going to let's take our little cute pig here, pull his ear, and let's say we need to have a 7-inch opening. So I'm just going to mark with a handy dandy ballpoint pen, because that's what we use, right? No, we don't. Anyway, I'm just going to mark it because I want you to see that this is the section where I want to put my zipper. You see that? And then this is the seam to my project, whether it be a blouse or a top or whatever, okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to try to figure out which sides are right sides of the fabric. And then we're going to take our 2 pieces of fabric, and I'm going to sew my seam. Okay, now this is a zipper, and we're going to talk now about a centered zipper and a lapped zipper. Okay, so with those both, you need a little bit extra seam allowance, because you got to give room for the zipper to work. So we're going to do a longer seam allowance, and I'm going to actually come in here, and I'm going to come over to 1 inch. I'm just going to do that for right now, and then I'm going to start sewing. And when I get to the spot where I want to have my zipper start, I am going to reverse and lock in, and I'm sorry, I'm left hand, let's see if I can get it up here, and I'm going to reverse and lock in that stitch. Okay, and then I'm going to stop. Now I'm going to come over, and I want the length of my stitch to become longer, and 5 millimeters is the longest that this one will stitch. Oh, and that did not help you at all, I'm sorry. And then I'm going to stitch where I want the zipper to go with that longer stitch length, because we don't need to keep that stitch length in there, right? Okay, so now I have the regular seam. Come back over here. I have the regular seam. Are we switching the camera? There we go. Regular seam here, and then this is the long length. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to come over and we're going to press this. So let's do, we're going to do our centered zipper first, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to iron our fabric, and then I'm going to iron it open, my seams open. Okay. Just finger press it first, makes life easy. Dun, da, da. Now, what I find, we used to have to pin this, and you know how pins are. You pin them, and then your seam gets crooked, and it just, life is crabby. So what I'm going to do is, let that cool for a second. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is take this, and in this section right where the seam is, I'm going to run a little bead of the Quilter Select glue stick. I use this stuff for everything. And then I'm going to take my zipper and center my teeth right on it. And let that set for just a second. And that's going to hold it in place for us, which is absolutely fabulous. Now, once it's in place, we're going to take it back over to the machine, and we're going to put on our zipper foot. So in my little bit of joy here, we have a zipper foot, and that's this guy right here. Okay, and these feet snap on and off, which makes it oh so handy. So I'm going to put him on, but then, oh, one thing I should show you is that here's the zipper part. You can stitch on this side of center or on this side of center. And it's not so much a choice of where you put the needle, but you'll notice there's a bar on this back part is chubby, and there's a bar all the way through. So you get to choose which side you want to stitch on, this side or that side. And I'm going to say on the left side. So I'm going to put my foot on, and maybe I'm going to put my foot on. There we go. Okay, so there my foot is on, and now I'm going to take my little piece and I am going to stitch him on. Now up at the top you have the head, and I am going to just kind of push it so the head is a little bit to the left, so that way I can maintain this straight line here, and I'm going to pop this underneath the foot and put the foot down. Now what we can do is we can move the stitch over, or we can choose a different stitch. So like on this machine, stitch number 1 is a left position stitch, and so that is perfect for what we're doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sewing a little bit, and then I'm going to reverse it, lock it in, and then we will start sewing. And you just want to stay to the side. Now, I am probably farther away from the zipper than I need to be, but you know, that's how life is working out today. Okay, now I'm at the spot where I wanted to end. Stop with your needle down and turn it 90 degrees so you can go straight across. And again, mine's going to end up being wider than I might normally want, but you can test yours and see how you want it to go. And oh, I didn't even go straight. This is going to be a creative zipper application. Okay, so now I'm taking it up, and then when you get to the top, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just squish that head a little bit. See how it's going a little bit that way, so my tape stays straight. And then we'll take it off, and we can do a quick reverse, and then we will cut our thread, and we're done with this zipper. Okay, so this is a centered lap zipper. We'll go back over here. Oh, it's so pretty. You're gonna love it. Okay, so yuck, but you get the idea, right? So now what I'm gonna do is probably go in with my seam ripper. I do have one here. I was just looking for that. So I'm gonna go in with my seam ripper. Maybe, I can't even get, there we go. And then you want to just pick out your threads, or you can cut them, right? So as we do this, then you're going to come down, and we're going to have a centered lap zipper. Now, preferably, I would say you want to be probably no more than a 1/4 inch, if not less, away from the zipper teeth. Okay, so there, when your project is done, it will, you know, you're doing everything in the same color, right? Unless you want it to show. Then it's all hidden when you go to close it up. Okay. All right, so that is a centered zipper. A lapped zipper is a similar thing, but let's talk about something you might find in patterns. In patterns, we'll put these little guys right side together. So in patterns, you may have an area where the zipper is to be applied, and you might have something that looks like this in your pattern piece. Let's just do this really quick. You might have something that looks like that. And this is to give extra space for the zipper because you need to stitch it down, and then you have your seam allowance down here. Okay, so that may look familiar. So to stitch this, we're going to stitch with a standard seam allowance up here, and when we get up to about right there, oops, about right there, we're going to back stitch and then baste with that longer stitch there. Okay, so I'm going to put my machine back on stitch number 3 so it's centered. I'm going to leave my I'm not going to leave the do not leave your zipper foot on for sewing seams. Okay, that will cause all kinds of havoc and joyous opportunities like new needles and things like that. Okay, so we've got him on there, and I'm just going to put my foot down, and we're just going to sew right up this little guy here. And then when we get to that part, we are going to do a little back tack, and you notice that the placement for that back tack is after I gotta go a little bit more, after you do the get into the angled piece. So now what I'm going to do is go to the end of my back tack, and now let's make the stitch longer. And this machine goes up to 5 millimeters. Okay, I've sewn him crooked, so yay me. Okay. All right, so now what we're going to do with our crooked seam is we're going to press it again, but this time instead of just pressing it, well, we are going to center it, but we're going to offset the placement of the zipper. So let's get this nice and flat, and then we're going to go in, and a lot of times when you have an offset zipper, you're really going to see an exaggerated or extremely wide seam allowance up at the top to be able to cover that zipper. So what you're going to find here is, and it's going to go in the same way we did the centered zipper, but I just want to show you where you're going to be stitching on this one, is that you're going to stitch, okay, I'm a lady, so I would have it lap. I don't think men have lap zippers. Actually, I don't know. Anyway, so you're going to stitch narrowly on the, if you're looking at it, it's on the right side. You're going to be like a normal top stitch right here, and then this piece will lap over, and so we can have it like this just to start off with, and then I probably will go ahead and unpick it so I can get the other piece to slip over. Okay, what did I do with my glue? Hello. Haha. Okay, so this time I'm going to favor that right side. You know what? I'm changing my mind. I'm taking that basting out. I think I just got overexcited about that. Let us find, where is my, there it is, there's my knot. Let's just go down here and we're just going to take him out. You know, did you know that you should have new seam rippers? Because if they're dull, you know what happens? Yeah, not good things, not good things. Okay, so what I'm going to do here instead is I'm going to zip him up. Oh, change the foot, put on my zipper foot. He's attached. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to put him on, so this side, that right side, maybe we should do the overhead now. We're going to put it so the right side, and of course you would have all these beautiful blue threads. Don't do that. Okay, we're going to have that sit right next to the zipper itself. Okay, so I'm going to take some handy dandy glue stick and put this on the seam that where I want it to stick. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to place that right along the teeth. Now, not touching the teeth because we need to have the zipper pull to be able to open, but you will notice that there's like a pattern in the tape of the zipper. So it's really easy to kind of get it straight, okay? All right, so we're gonna let that set for a minute. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and fold this back and I'll stitch it so you can't see the stitch. Now, what I was telling you before is to stitch right along the top of it, and you can do that as well. And what that will do is that will give you kind of a, not an invisible zipper, but it will give you a top stitched. Now I did move my needle over to the left a little bit, and now we'll just stitch this down. And we'll use that zipper foot as a guide up against the zipper tape. Okay, now we have that stitched down. And so you can see this is, whoops, we have a nice set there of where that zipper is, right? Nice and straight. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this guy, and this is why it's important to have all that seam allowance, is because we're going to lap that over just a bit. And so it starts at the seam there where it's the same, but as you get to the top, it becomes more of a lap. Does that make sense? And part of the reason why is, well, let's take that head down there, the head, and get it past the seam allowance. You have to be able to have it cover the head of the zipper. Because if we had it just even Steven, and that's where it was, when you went and unzip it, you look at peeking out. You can see it peek out, and you don't want to see it peeking out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, and I'm going to take on the zipper tape this time, put some glue stick right on that zipper tape. This is so much easier with glue stick than it ever was with pins. And now what I'm going to do is put my fold where I want the fold to be, hold the fold, then come back and press the tape into place. Okay, so I got my position where I need that to be so my head is covered. Okay, sound right? You guys are with me? Okay, sorry I was taking you a different direction earlier. There's multiple ways to do this, but I think this is the easiest way. So now what I'm going to do is I've got it lined up so my, let me make sure where the metal is on this. Oh, it's way down there. We're safe. Okay, I have this lined up with the seam, and so I'm going to, oh yeah, no foot controls out for this guy. Let's stitch a cut. I'm going to turn it down a little bit just so I can stitch it just right. And then I'm going to do reverse. Oh, that went too far. Oh, you know why? Because I still have it on a long seam length. Let's take that down to a 2.5, which we probably want it at. Okay, so then we're going to come, and you want to clear the tape and then pivot, and then we're going to sew right up this side of the zipper. And I'm going to, ooh, now it's too slow. And I'm going to try to stay nice and straight. If you are worried about that, go ahead and mark a line. Now here's where my head is, and here is where my foot is. If I'm going to sew straight here, I'm going to end up with a woob. It's going to curve. So at this point, I'm going to take it and unzip my zipper, get it out of the way, and then make sure it's still laying flat the way it should, the way we glued it, right? And then we can continue stitching right off the tape, okay? Let's see if I did a better job with stitching this one. I did do a better job of stitching this one, yay! Okay, but then when we zip it up, well, okay, so maybe I exaggerated it a little bit, but hey, it's still, you get the idea, right? Because we do want to go over, but not as much as I did. This is how it would be in the seam allowances. It would be like that, so it actually works pretty good, but you want to make sure that you have enough clearance to get over here. Maybe not as much clearance. You can see I went crooked there, so I did take, add a little bit into that size, but just just maintain a nice straight line up there and draw a line. It helps a lot to draw a line. Okay, shall we look at an invisible zipper really quick? We're going to do an invisible zipper. Let's see how well I can do this one, right? Okay, so an invisible zipper, like I said, from the back it looks like a regular zipper, but from the front it doesn't look like anything. So what we're going to do is open it up and we're going to press it. Now this is the back side of the zipper that is up. The back side, and what we're going to do is, okay, so here's the zipper. It's rolling. See how it has that lump right there? It is coming flat like this, and then it rolls to the back. That's how it has an invisible look from the front. So what we're going to do is we're going to press that lump flat. So this one, I'm going to roll it towards me and see if I can't get that little guy out of there. So let me start with the other side first. It'll be easier for me to do. Haha. Okay, so let's get in there. Get him started. Come on, roll with it, baby. There we go. Okay. Because the whole point of getting it to roll is that you're going to be able to stitch it easier. So, when you're working with if you don't have an invisible zipper foot or a concealed zipper foot, that's okay. This can help you do it with a regular zipper foot because we're going to get nice and flat. Now, when you go to sew this, it's going to go back. Once it's sewn, it's going to go right back where it needs to be, but this just makes it a little bit easier to work with. Okay. All right, so there is our flattened zipper. You might be able to tell it doesn't, well, now it wants to, but it doesn't have as much of a curl to it. It's more flat. Okay, so let's just stitch a couple of pieces of fabric together really fast. And this one, all zippers, you want to have a little bit extra seam allowance just so that way they can stay nice and you have a lot to stitch into. I'm going to back stitch there, go back up, and now we'll get this up to a basting length. And again, you probably are going to be using the same color thread and the same color of fabric as your zipper, or a closely matching one. Okay, so this guy is good. We'll press him, and then we'll put in our invisible zipper. And let's see. Boy, Marianne, you're coming all the way from Ohio. So hello. And Carol, you're from Ohio too? And Louisiana? Wow, you guys are really coming from a long way. Where in Louisiana are you? Is that Catherine? I can't tell from here. But where in Louisiana are you from? I know it's a big state, but my father grew up not far from Shreveport, but he was on the Texas side. So anyway, okay, so here is our part that we're going to have. We're going to use put our little guy in. And here is the foot I'm going to use. And this is the baby lock, because it's a baby lock machine. But this would fit on brother, so either way. But it even comes, it's the invisible zipper foot, and it even comes with all the instructions in them, which is really handy. It gives you a nice little picture of it, and it will give you a nice little instructions. Okay. All right. So then we're going to come in here, and a lot of people like to make a notebook out of their instructions. Okay. I just wanted to show you that because it's pretty handy. Okay. So now we're going to come in here and we're going to switch our foot, and we're going to see where I had my zipper foot out here a second ago, but now I have zippers everywhere, so I don't know where anything is. Oh, good grief. Oh, for Pete's sakes. Don't tell me we're going to have to, under the machine. How many times does that happen at home? Seriously, right? Okay, so this little guy is kind of wacky. You see that he has this little hole right here, and that's just for visual aid there. And it has on the back side is where he's kind of different. It's got a big channel for the whole zipper, but it has a channel for the left side, a channel for the right side, so he's kind of good to go. Okay, so we're going to take this and we're going to pop him on the machine. Now, this one does not have a left or right side. It has one side, and it has a very small hole, so you can move the needle left or right where you need to. Right now I have the needle way too far to the left, so let's take that back quite a bit before we, oh, wrong one. Before we do anything else, let's just get it kind of back where he needs to be. Okay, so I have my seam stitched, I've got my invisible zipper, and I want to stitch him, and I'm trying to think. I think I just got excited and I stitched that again. I didn't need to stitch him again. Good night. Me and the seam ripper are having fun today. I didn't need to baste this shut. I'm not doing a lap zipper. What am I doing? Okay, I'm sure you all were going like, Reva, you don't need to stitch that. No, I don't need to stitch that. Okay, so we're going to come in here and just take this guy out. All right. And what I'm doing is I'm just taking the thread, and it's a basting stitch, so it's just really nice and easy to get out, unless you're on camera and you can't do that. Okay. Now, one thing to do is that you would, you want to make sure that when you use a thread for this, that you use a nice and strong sewing construction thread, not an embroidery thread, and not a cotton thread, probably. If this is going in your pants, you probably don't want a cotton thread. Okay, so now I'm going to take this, and I'm going to, you have to think about it, because he needs to be like, see, thinking about it. It's different than other zippers, so he needs to be in like this. So this is the way he needs to sew. Okay, so let's take him, and I'm going to follow that crease that I made, and I'm going to stitch that down in that crease. So for this, I'm going to position my foot so that it grabs, that my zipper tape, the teeth of the zipper are going in one side of that little groove. And I know you probably can't see that, so you're going to have to just trust me. And oh, he's actually flipped over. That's not going to work. He needs to be flat. Remember, we pressed him flat for a reason, and that is so that way we can get right tight to those teeth and he can be invisible. So now what I need to do, I'm sorry, I know I'm blocking, but I need to make sure that I am not too close to the teeth. If it's the stitch is too close to the teeth, then we won't be able to use the zipper. If it's too far away, it's going to show. I know, right? Just so many rules. Okay, so I'm going to take a couple of stitches. Oh, long stitch. Don't want long stitch. And then we'll do a couple of reverse. And then we will do our straight stitch. And I am just watching, I'm watching up here, making sure my tape is laying down in the proper spot and letting the machine feed the zipper in, because the zipper is in that groove. Okay. All right, so now the other side, we want to have that come up, but the trick is, oh, where are we? There, is that okay? So the trick is we want to have the zipper start in the same place that it did on the other side. So maybe that is, let's zip it up a little bit to make sure that we're starting it in the right spot. And I'm going to put a little bit of my glue stick. I love my glue stick. Do you guys love your glue stick? I mean, seriously, this stuff disappears. It turns kind of, when it dries, it turns kind of a white color, but then it washes out. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. All right. So now I have that glued in place. So now I can come in here and let's put this under the foot on the other side. Okay, so now it's on the other side. So now let's make sure, oh, nope, that needle is not in the right spot. Hold on. Need to move that over, and we're going to move him back to center needle position, and maybe one more. Okay, and there we go. So now we're going to stitch him, and normally I would back tack, but I'm not going to at this moment. All right, whoops, I wasn't paying, did you hear that? That's Reva not paying attention, because I'm crooked to the machine, so I'm not paying attention. So I'm gonna have a couple of spots where it's not gonna stitch. Well, bummer deal, right? Okay, so I've done that. Let's open it up. And yes, I have a spot right here that it's not gonna zip up, and a spot next to it, but that's okay. You can just unzip that or undo that and do it again. Okay, so now we have this little area right here that's open, and that's how we're gonna get into our zipper. And then what you can do once you get it started is you can go back and you can stitch that shut. Right there, stitch that, and then stitch this side shut to make it secure, and then you can even hand pick across that if you want to. But the point of an invisible zipper is not to be able to see it. So there's our zipper all ready to go, and it flips back right on itself, and it that curve comes right back in. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so zippers basically need to know is look at what material you're working with as far as the zipper. If it's metal teeth, don't sew through it. If it has, if it calls for a separating zipper, make sure you get a separating zipper. But the other things that's a general confusion is a number 3 versus a number 5. A number 3 is for lightweight fabrics like a garment or a dress or a blouse, something like that. Different than jean zippers. A jean, if you're really making a pair of jeans, you can get jean zippers. Those are metal teeth and they will hold much firmer, but a skirt or a casual pair of pants should be fine with this kind of zipper. And then a number 5 will be more like your upholstery, your other things like that. So, okay, so hopefully that clears up some mystery zipper information for you. And you know, don't be afraid of zippers. Use your glue stick, get it right where you want it to go, and stitch it down. You're going to be happy as a clam. Okay, talk to you later. Have fun sewing and put in some zippers.